Boris enemy lose seat. Macron followed UK counterpart Footstep as chance for re-elections dim. Emmanuel Macron has been warned he could face a quite dangerous challenge if Marine Le Pen were to be eliminated before a second round of votes in next year's French presidential election. Emmanuel Macron could see his chances for re-election dwindle dramatically if Marine Le Pen were to fail to secure a spot on the second round of votes in the election, political commentator Patrick Smith claimed. Mr. Macron is expected to run for a second term in the Élysée in April and is set to face steep competition from far-right candidates Le Pen and Éric Zemmour. However, Mr. Smith suggested the candidate for the centre-right Les Républicains party, Valérie Pécresse, could prove to be a quite dangerous challenger for Mr. Macron in France's upcoming presidential election. Mr. Smith said, "I do think that, assuming that Emmanuel Macron is going to stand, and I think that's a fairly safe bet, I think his most serious opponent is going to be Valérie Pécresse. And I think both of them are going to be competing for the centre-right ground. That could be quite dangerous for Emmanuel Macron simply because, going back to the elections in 2000 when you had Marine Le Pen's father competing against Jacques Chirac, there was what they called the hold your nose factor. The left and the centre-left voters moved to vote for Chirac just to keep the extreme right out. I think if it comes down to a second round between Macron and Pécresse, you won't get that factor." The Africa Report editor-in-chief added, "A lot of left voters having not been able to put together a really powerful challenge to Macron from the left, they would just abstain. That could be quite dangerous for Emmanuel Macron." Ms. Pécresse, who was picked as Les Républicains candidate earlier in December, has benefited from an early boost in the polls after her selection. France 24's political editor Marc Perelman said, Macron's figures are not huge in terms of percentage. He has around 25%. It's not huge, but it's a 10% advantage on the whole pack of candidates, a very crowded pack. On the far right, you have two candidates, Marine Le Pen who he faced off in 2017, then Valérie Pécresse who got a bump in the polls. Then on the left, many candidates but very few votes, and that is really historical. On the surface, things are looking up for the endlessly ambitious Emmanuel Macron, President of France. With the recent installation of the fledgling German government of Olaf Scholz, Macron at last finds himself the senior partner in the pivotal Franco-German alliance, finally able to try to harness France's oversized geostrategic ambitions to the world-class German economic motor. While the new Green German foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, has ambitions to remake Berlin's foreign policy in a more pro-Atlanticist, activist direction, German foreign policy is traditionally made in the Chancellery. If this holds true, Scholz, the finance minister in the last Merkel government, and his immediate allies can be counted on to continue with Germany's weak, commercially driven, neutralist foreign policy. This is all the better for Macron, who yearns to stride the world stage as a major player. Even the United States, the perpetual foe of France's self-aggrandizing instincts, seems to have fallen into line. Following the furore over the AUKUS defense treaty between Australia, the UK, and the US, in which Canberra unceremoniously ditched defense ties with Paris in favor of closer links with the Anglosphere, the Biden administration has raced to mollify a furious Macron. The practical result of this American charm offensive was Washington's new rhetorical support for Macron's dream of an independent European defense entity. This sea change has left the foreign and strategic policy field open to Paris.